What up there, cunts? Today I am talking about the Twilight Saga Eclipse. The movie starts and we see this guy like walk outside of a diner and like there's a thunderstorm going on and it's raining hella hard. Then out of nowhere he gets knocked down to the ground and thrown into like a glass window and he's like frantic and he's like, who's there? Then this bitch runs to the dock and he just decides to scream out at the top of his lungs, what do you want? Whoever was harassing him like bites him and then he like falls to the ground and starts flopping around in pain. Then Eclipse pops up on the screen. Bella's voiceover starts talking about fire and ice or some shit, and then all of a sudden you see her and Edward sitting in a fucking field. They start talking and you realize that Bella has not answered his proposal yet. Bella goes home and like she talks to her dad and like they're discussing the fact that she's grounded and her dad's like, I'm grounding you, you know, so you're not spending all your fucking free time with Edward. And Bella's like, bitch, get over it. He's gonna be in my life. Her dad's like, okay, you're not grounded anymore as long as you see other friends, like Jacob. So Bella calls Jacob and he doesn't answer the fucking phone. So Bella decides that she's gonna see Jacob and like go actually visit his house, but her shitty ass truck won't start. And then out of nowhere, Edward just appears magically in her fucking passenger seat. And it turns out he did some weird fucking vampire voodoo because he doesn't want her to go see Jacob. The next day at lunch, Jessica is talking about her valedictorian speech and Alice wants to have a party at the Cullens house to celebrate graduation. And Bella's all like, bitch, do you remember what happened the last fucking time y'all threw a party? Jasper tried to eat me. Alice has a vision and Edward tells Bella that there's a teenage boy missing from Seattle and that vampire activity is suspected. Bella goes to visit her mom in Jacksonville because Edward's like, you know, you're gonna need to visit her before graduation because, you know, after graduation she's supposedly getting turned into a fucking vampire and her mom gives her a fucking stupid ass quilt. Later on that night, all the Cullens are just standing in a semicircle in the middle of a fucking forest because Alice had a vision that Victoria was gonna be appearing. Victoria shows up and they start chasing the stupid cunt, but then she jumps over the river into the fucking werewolf territory, and so the wolves start chasing her. Then she jumps back into vampire territory, then she goes back to the werewolf territory like this bitch is running hella fast. Emmett gets too fucking excited and follows her into werewolf land, and then this fucking werewolf like throws him into the damn river, and they both get distracted and let the bitch fucking run away. The next day, Edward and Bella go to school, and when they pull up, Jacob is just standing in the middle of the fucking sidewalk. And then he turns around in slow fucking ass motion and some sexy ass music starts playing. Bella's like, bitch, where have you been? Jacob's all fucking mad at Edward like, if your kind ever steps on our land again, it's gonna be trouble. And Bella's like, what the fuck happened, Edward? So Edward has to tell Bella that Victoria is close and that, you know, they were chasing her, and Jacob is just sitting there with this smug ass look on his face because he started a fucking fight. And Bella's having a motherfucking hissy fit because Edward didn't tell her. And I'm like, you dumb bitch, he was trying to protect your stupid motherfucking ass. So Bella's like, Jacob, why ain't you answer my motherfucking phone calls? And Jacob's like, bitch, I didn't have anything to say. And Bella's like, well, bitch, I have a lot to motherfucking say. So she just gets on Jacob's motorcycle like some cheap whore and just leaves Edward and leaves school and just goes off to fucking hang out with him. Jacob tells her about imprinting, which is basically when a werewolf is obsessed with a bitch. Bella lets him know that she's gonna be a vampire in like a fucking month, and Jacob completely flips shit and says some mean ass shit, and Bella's like, fuck you, and then he's like, I'm sorry. Then the fucking guy who got attacked at the beginning of the movie is just walking around Bella's fucking house and sniffing her dad's face. Then Bella comes home and Edward shows up and he's like, someone's been in your house. So the Cullens are trying to come up with a method to protect Bella even better, and Rosalie the cunt is like, we don't have time to protect this bitch. Bella agrees and she's like, Jacob can watch me. Edward is hella pissed and him and Jacob start arguing in front of Bella's house, and Bella's like, bitches, I'm Switzerland. The next day, Bella and Edward pull off on the side of the road to meet Jacob, who's just standing in front of his car with his fucking shirt off for no fucking reason. Jacob takes Bella to like this werewolf council meeting and they tell the history of the story between the vampires and the werewolves, and it's boring as fuck. Then we see the guy from the beginning just with a group of people biting bitches, and we discover that he's obviously been turned into a fucking vampire. We find out that his name is Riley, which is a sexy ass fucking name. The Cullens finally conclude that somebody's making an army of vampires. Jacob's walking around with Bella and out of nowhere he's like, I'm in love with you, and Bella's like, bitch, I don't feel the same. Jacob's like, I'm gonna fight for you until your heart stops beating. He kisses her and Bella punches him in the face. Well, she tries to punch him in the face, but his face is like made of werewolf metal and she breaks her fucking hand. Then they get back to Bella's house and Edward pulls up hella fast in his fucking Volvo and he's like, nigga, if you touch her again, I'ma fuck you up! At the Cullens house, Rosalie talks to Bella and she admits that she's jealous of her, and that's why she acts like a fucking bitter cunt. Rosalie tells the story of how like she was beat up and raped by this guy that she was in love with, and that Carlisle smelled her blood and saved her. So Rosalie isn't that bad, she just has a lot of fucking issues. she's damaged and she never really wanted to be a fucking vampire. Then we see Riley and his group of newborn vampires just wreaking havoc all over a fucking city, blowing cars up and shit. Dakota Fanning is watching from the rooftop like a boss bitch, trying to decide if she wants to stop Riley or not on behalf of the Volturi. The next day, everybody graduates, so party at the Cullen house. Jacob has the nerve to show up and give Bella a bracelet with a fucking wolf on it. Then Alice has a vision of Riley making people smell Bella's clothes, so that means that Dakota Fanning is gonna let shit happen and she's gonna let a war take place and she doesn't give a shit about anybody. The werewolves and the vampires make an alliance to protect Bella. The newborns are gonna come to Forks in 4 days, okay? So everybody has to prepare for this like big fucking massive war. Jasper tells Bella his story of becoming a vampire and it's boring as fuck. Bella has a dream that Jasper bites her and somehow this dream leads her to the conclusion that Victoria is the one behind the army. Bella convinces Edward to sit out of the battle because every time they're apart they start worrying about each other and fuck shit up. The Cullen family goes hunting so that they're well fed for the war and they leave Edward and Bella at home by themselves. Bella tries to seduce Edward like a slut-skank whore because she wants to experience sex while she's still a human. They make out for a bit and then Edward's like, bitch, we're not doing this until we're married. Then Edward starts talking about how he wished he could give her some fucking iced tea, and then he pulls out his mom's old ring and he asks Bella to marry him again. And then Bella says yes, and Edward looked so happy and I fucking cried, okay? I cried in this movie. I have no fucking shame. I fucking cried when I saw the pleased, happy, and satisfied look on Edward Cullen's motherfucking face. Then we see Riley talking to Victoria and we find out that Victoria is not actually going to be participating in the battle even though she constructed it, and she's up here trying to act like she's in love with Riley when really she's just trying to get revenge for James. The fucking battle is about to start. Bella's not wearing her ring because she doesn't want Jacob to know yet and he has to carry her up a fucking mountain to her safety spot. Edward stares over the mountains, sparkling in the sunlight. Riley and the group of newborns climb out of the fucking lake like a bunch of crocodiles. Then Jacob the cockblocker ends up staying on the mountain with Edward and Bella. It's fucking cold and Bella's fucking freezing to death because the bitch didn't dress appropriately to be on a motherfucking ski resort, so Jacob has to cuddle with her because obviously Edward's cold-blooded ass can't help with shit. The next day, Jacob overhears that Bella and Edward are married and he gets hella pissed and storms off into the distance, and for some reason, Bella follows him. She runs after Jacob and yells at him to kiss her, and then she fucking just starts making out with him, and I'm like, you stupid fucking idiot, whore, slut, bitch, what the fuck is wrong with you? How are you gonna go through all this shit and make Edward fucking propose to you and fucking wanna bite you and just beg for his motherfucking attention, and then all of a sudden you wanna go over there and fucking make out with Jacob as though you don't have a motherfucking fiance? Like, what the fuck kind of shit sense does that make? Bella comes back to the campsite and obviously Edward knows what just happened and he's like, you're in love with Jacob, and Bella's like, but I love you more, and Edward's like, I know. Edward is more calm than me because I would have took that damn tent and threw it at Bella's fucking face. The battle begins. The Cullens and the werewolves are kicking newborn vampire ass and the scene is fucking awesome and it's intense and bitches is dying left and right. Victoria catches Edward's scent and so she goes to the mountain to kill him and Bella with Riley. Edward provokes Victoria and then Victoria and Riley double team him and they're about to kill him, like they're literally about to snap his fucking neck, but then Bella cuts herself and distracts them with her blood. A fucking wolf comes out of nowhere and like devours Riley and Victoria's just watching, not giving a shit. Then Edward kills Victoria once and for all. The Cullens spare one of the newborns, this little girl named Bree, because she's like fucking 12 and she doesn't know any better. Jacob gets his ribs crushed by some vampire that was hiding behind a rock. Then Dakota Fanning walks across the field like a fierce bitch and just starts torturing Bree for no motherfucking reason. And then she has the nerve to start acting like she didn't know any of this shit was going on, even though she was watching the entire situation from the beginning of the motherfucking movie. She orders Felix to kill Bree, and then she says that the head of the Volturi is gonna be interested to know that Bella is still a human. Oh shit. Jacob is injured as fuck, and he lets Bella know while he's recovering that he is never gonna give up on her, even if her heart stops beating. Oh shit. And then Edward and Bella set the date for their wedding, but Bella still hasn't told her mom or her dad about any of this shit. Holy fucking shit! What the fuck is gonna happen next? Gotta take your ass to the movie theater like me tomorrow and watch Breaking Dawn Part 1, motherfuckers.